So we now have A's, 5 A's on the left, and we have A's on the right, 2 A's on the right. So we've got A's on both sides, the unknown on both sides. So what we want to do is we're going to collect all the unknowns to one side. Which side has more A's? Obviously the left side has 5 A's, so that's more than 2A. So we're going to gather all the letter A's or the unknowns on the left hand side. So that means we need to get rid of this -3 on the left hand side. So how do we get rid of the -3? We have to add 3 on the left, so we'll have to add 3 on the right. So that will leave me with 5A, and the -3 and the +3 have cancelled out, and on the right hand side we'll have 2A plus 3. I'll just copy the sign down. And as we said, we want all the letter A's on the left hand side. So that means now on the right hand side we have to get rid of this 2A. So to get rid of the 2A we have to take away 2A on the right hand side. So that means we have to take away 2A on the left hand side. So now on the left hand side, 5A take away 2A is 3A. On the right hand side, the 2A and the -2A cancels out, leaving with just +3, which we can just write as 3. So now to get the A on its own, we have to divide both sides by 3. So to get rid of this times 3, I have to divide by 3 here. I have to divide by 3 here. So the times 3 and the divide 3 cancel out, leaving just A. And on this side, 3 divided by 3 is just 1. I'll copy the sign down. So A has to be greater than 1. Now if they asked you what's the smallest possible value of A, well, it can't be 1 because A has to be greater than 1. So the smallest possible value that A could be is 2, if they did ask you that additional question. But otherwise the answer is just A is greater than 1. I'll write a bit more neatly here. A is greater than 1. This is the answer. And this here is an additional question. What's the smallest value? What's the smallest integer that A could be? The smallest integer A could be is 2. A is equal to 2. So to question 7, again we have x's on both sides, the unknown on both sides, but as you can see we have 2x on the left, which means there's more on the left than on the right hand side. Here we only have 1x. So which side will we gather all the x's? On the left hand side, but that's where there's more. So to do that, that means I have to get rid of the x on the right hand side. So I have to take away x here, and I have to take away x here. So why do I take away this x? Because I want to get rid of this plus this positive x here. So on the right hand side now, the x and the -x cancels out, leaving with just 1. On the left hand side, 2x take away x is just x, and this -2 just copy it down because we didn't do anything with that. Okay, and copy the sign down. Now to get the x on its own, we have to get rid of this -3. So we're going to add 3 to both sides. So add 3 here, add 3 here. So the -3 and the add 2 cancels out, then we just x. And on the right hand side, we've got 1 plus 3. So 1 add 3 is 4. So the answer is x has to be less than 4. So this is our answer. But if they asked us the additional question, what is the smallest whole number value of x, or what's the smallest value, integer value of x, the answer would have to be 3, because x has to be less than 4. So the biggest whole number it could be, biggest whole number that x could be is equal to 3. So it's question 8 now. Again, I can see I've got 3x on the left and only 1x on the right. So that means on the left hand side I have more x's. So I'm going to gather all my x's to the left. That means on the right hand side we do not want to have any x's. So that means I have to get rid of this x. How do you get rid of this x? I have to take away x on the right hand side, and I have to take away an x on the left hand side. So obviously now on the right hand side, this x, take away this x, leaves me with just -1. So just copy that down. and on the left hand side 3x take away x is 2x. Copy the plus 2 here down, plus 2, and then just copy the sign down, because we haven't yet divided or multiplied by negative number. Now to get this x on its own, I have to get rid of this plus 2. So how do I get rid of this plus 2? I have to take away 2 on the left hand side, I have to take away 2 on the right hand side as well. So on the left hand side, the plus 2 and the minus 2 cancels out, leaving with just 2x. Is 2x here. And on the right hand side, well, I now have to do minus 1 minus 2. So what's minus 1 minus 2? It's minus 3. And just copy the sign down. Now to get the x on its own, this x on its own, I have to get rid of this times 2. So I have to divide 2 on the left hand side and divide by 2 on the right hand side. So now this times 2 and divide 2 cancels out, leaving with just x. And then on the right hand side is minus 3 over 2. That's the answer. So the final answer is x has to be greater than or equal to minus 3 over 2. Now if you wanted to write that as a decimal, and that would be x is greater than or equal to, well, 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, so minus 3 divided by 2 will have to be minus 1.5. So we know that 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, so minus 3 divided by 2 will have to be minus 1.5. So you can either leave it as a fraction or leave it here like this as a decimal. So question 9, John is having a party, but he has only £60. So this is very, very important. He only has £60. So the maximum he can spend on the party is £60. He has to pay £10 to hire the room. So if there is nobody turns up to the party, he still has to pay this £10. And then on top of that, he'll have to pay £4 for every person at the party. He now wants to figure out how many people can he invite to this party. So let the number of people be n, so represent it as n. Could be x, could be z, but we'll just use n. Write down an inequality involving n and solve it to find the largest number that can go to the party. So first of all, we've got to form the inequality. So we know that the cost of the party has to be less than or equal to £60, because that's the money he has. It has to be £60 or less. And we also know, remember we said here, the £10 he has to pay regardless of how many people have attended. Even nobody attends, he'll have to pay £10 to hire the hall. And then he'll have to pay £4 for every person. And we said each person we can represent as n. So £4 for every person. So we'll write that as the £10 is what we've got there, then an additional 4n. So the £10 is the whole hire, and then £4 times the number of people. So if there's 2 people, 2 times 4 is 8. It'll be £8 for those. If there's 10 people, 10 times 4 would be 40. And that would be this here would be the cost. And in the question we've learned that it must be less than £60. So now we want to get the n on its own. To get the n on its own, we'll have to get rid of this plus 10 first, or this positive 10. How to do that? We have to take away 10 on the left hand side, and then we have to take away 10 on the right hand side. So this 10 take away 10 is just be 0, leaving us with just 4n on the left hand side. So write the 4n. On the right hand side we'll have 60 divided by 10, 60 take away 10, which is 50, and then just copy the sign down. And now to get the n on its own, we have to divide both sides by 4. So on the left hand side, the times from the divide 4 cancels out, leaving with just n, and the right I'll have 50 divided by 4. So we'll have 50 over 4. Okay, and it's not good to always to leave as an improper fraction, so if you can turn that into a mixed number, it will be better. So how many 4s go into 50? We could ask ourselves how many 4s go into 50, and the answer is 12, but that might be a bit tricky. So another thing we could do is actually simplify this fraction. So 50 over 4, they're both even numbers, so that means we can half it. So 50 over 4, you can half the top and the bottom, so we'll have 25 over 2. Then you can ask yourself, how many 2's go into 25? That's 12. So 2 times 12 is 24, and the one remainder, so the answer is 12 and a half. So n has to be equal to or less than 12 and a half. So we got the answer was n has to be 12 and a half or less. N has to be equal to 12 and a half or less. So what does that mean in terms of our question? So n was the number of people. N was the number of people. Now how can I say, or I can have 12 and a half people or less? You can't really say that. So the biggest number of people I could have, or the largest number of people I could have, is 12. I can have no more than 12 people. So the largest number of people I could have at the party is 12. So the answer is the number of people that I can invite to the party. I'm not going to write all of that, so you can write that yourself. Number of people that I can invite to the party is equal to 12. That's the final answer. That's the largest number of people I could invite to the party is 12. Do not write 12 and a half, because you can't invite 12 and a half people. So the largest number of people that can be invited to this party is 12.